But let's shift gears over here to Shawn Burke. And what types of sports do you compete in? Can you tell us a little bit about more specifics about the type of events you compete in and how Asea has impacted your performance in those sports?
Sure. So I mainly do triathlons and road races. So I've competed in 19 Ironmans in my career. But the thing that got me excited about getting on Asea and working with it is I was getting ready to do my 18th Ironman. I was age 51 years old. And actually at that particular time, my body was spinning out of control. I was sore all the time. I wasn't able to recover. And when you do an Ironman race, you need to be able to get 20 to 21 hours of training in per week. At that particular time, I was maybe getting 5 if I was lucky. Was going into depression because I wasn't able to train like I used to. And so I got on the product, had went by a booth that said science. And so being in the medical field, the word science and Asea caught my eye. And I said, I got to check this out. So I started taking the product, studied Dr. Gary Samuelson's book, and did some more research of myself. So I started taking the product. I was 8 weeks out from the 18th Ironman, got on the product, and 3 weeks later is when I started to notice the difference. I started sleeping better. I started having less stiffness. I was able to go out and start training from 5 hours to 6 hours to 8 hours to 10 hours, worked my way back up to 20 hours. My whole training schedule went from 5 to 20 hours a week, and I was on fire. It just totally turned me around. And I was like, I think I'm going to be able to do my 18th Ironman. So I got to the starting line and did my 18th Ironman and took 58 minutes off my previous time.
Wow.
And I was just blown away. And normally after doing an Ironman race, I have to go to the medical tent, get IVs. I'm in there for an hour, 2 hours at a time. I walked across the finish line, grabbed a piece of pizza, and went and watched the race again for another 6 hours. But it was totally amazing. I'm like, I'm on to something here. And so normally after doing a race, the race was on a Sunday. I took Monday off from work, was back to work on Tuesday. Normally I have to take a whole week off. So I was back to week on Tuesday, back to training on Tuesday evening that, and went on that particular season and did 9 more races, set 9 personal best records, and 8 course records for my age group. And it's been like that ever since I've been on Asea. So
fantastic.
It really works, yes.
Well, it's almost hard to top those stories. However, here I'm going to ask anyway, is there one most significant performance story that either you or one of your athletes have had with Asea?
I actually have 2. I have one really powerful one, and this one is very special to my heart. This was a young athlete who I knew as he was getting ready to graduate from a local high school. He graduated with honors. He was a valedictorian. He got a full ride scholarship to med school, and he graduated in June. And November he was at grad school. In November of that year, he was going to meet his dad to go hunting, and he got into a severe car wreck, and was totally had some severe injuries. He actually was in rehab for 3 months. It was very devastating. No one thought he was going to make it. In fact, the doctor said, you need to take him off life support. The family refused to do that. They stuck with him. And so when they said, okay, after 3 months, you can take him home, but he's going to be a vegetable. He's just going to go in the bed. That's where he's going to be. You're just going to have to live with that. And so when he got home, I knew the family, and I said, hey, you know what? Why don't you come to a meeting? And they said, tell me about what it is. And so they took this individual and actually physically got him into a wheelchair and took him to a meeting, to Dr. Carl Smith's meeting on what this was. Now, the dad was a biochemist, so he understood when we got to that meeting what we were talking about. And here's a kid who was in a wheelchair, who couldn't speak, and he kept pointing at the board. He just kept pointing like this. It was powerful. And he's pointing at the board. He says, looked at his dad, and he kept saying, I want that, I want that, I want that. And so his dad, at the end of the meeting, says, how do I get this? So we got him on the product. And this is a kid who was said to go home, and he's never going to do anything. He started taking the product, and 3 weeks later, he was able to start turning himself in bed. And then he was able to start sitting up in bed. And then he was able to start dressing himself. So a long story short is that for the next and then I actually became his therapist. I actually worked with him at our facility. I saw him take his first steps. I saw him take his first steps with a walker. I saw him take his first step with a cane. I saw him, start to stand and balance. It was powerful. And I'm telling you, the thing that he did is he got on Asea. That was the thing that changed his life. Everything he had been through, all the medical doctors and stuff, and he is now, this has been a 4-year process. He is now walking with no devices. He's back in school, holding a full load.